Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to Magic Monday here on our Mystic Road Trip. This is a podcast where I take you along my Mystic Road Trip, my journey to learn new things and really dive deep into things to see what fits with my spiritual path. And hopefully by me sharing it with you what I've learned, it can help you too. That's kind of what this is all about. If you're asking who I am, well, I am your host. I'm Kim. I am a tarot reader, an astrologer, a spiritual wellness coach, a guide, a meditation guide, all that kind of stuff, and I'm also a writer. So there's all of that as well. So that's me, hopefully, and I just started this podcast. I really wanted to help people, guys. I try as hard as I can to be very open and honest, and that's really it. Like, I decided I wanted to learn about a whole bunch of different things because I'm still trying to figure out my spiritual path, and I'm still trying to figure out my life path, and I'm just trying to figure shit out. Let's just be real. And I was like, one of the things about me is I feel like I'm put on this world to share my knowledge. So I think it's greedy for me to gain knowledge and not share it. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. That's what I wanted to do. So there's that. Today is Monday, so I release 2 episodes every week. Mondays is usually about magical, spiritual, mystical, can be about life coaching, that kind of stuff. All the wellness stuff, holistic healing, and all that is on Mondays. And then I have an episode on Thursday, which is solely dedicated to tarot, which is like one of my first loves of life. And so if that sounds cool, you should check it out too. Yeah. So on Monday's editions, as I said, we go to magic. And we usually start with something called Our Week in the Stars, where I take a look at a couple astrological events that are happening during the week and kind of give you an idea of the energy, how you can maybe navigate that energy, just to make sure that you guys can, make it through and to the best of your ability, right? So, before we do that, though, let's do some house cleaning. My words are not working today. Yeah. Okay, sorry. I lost my train of thought for a second. The universe said, slow down. Oh, I just got my tattoo fixed. It's a little itchy. I'm trying not to scratch it. So, before we do that, let's do housekeeping. If you want to reach out to me, you can definitely do that. I have social media. I have TikTok. I have Instagram. I have Facebook. If there's been an email down there, if you want to hit me up old school style, that's perfectly acceptable. I know not everybody is tuned into the social media thing, and in some ways I really envy those people that are that way. If you want to support the podcast, you can do that by simply like comment, follow, subscribe, do all that kind of cool stuff. Any type of engagement with the video or audio allows the algorithms to know that people are interested, and therefore maybe more people would be interested. If you want to kick a little cash my way, you can most definitely donate on my Patreon page or my Buy Me a Coffee. There, if you're interested, you can also purchase a tarot card read, an astrology read. Coming up soon, there'll be guided meditations there, as well as life coaching sessions and of such nature. So, that's one way you can support the podcast. Those are 2 ways you can support the podcast, actually. If you want more information on this and so much more, you can definitely check out the Medium publication. As I said, I'm a writer, so there's definitely going to be some more writing over there. And if you're interested in women, history, and you're a feminist, or you just like to hear about cool-ass people, make sure you check out my other podcast. It's called Where All the Ladies At. I basically take a look at history, myth, and legend, and really do a deep dive on women so that we can put spotlight on them. And if that sounds cool to you, then join me over there too. That is it for the shameless plugging and housekeeping. Now I guess we can jump into Our Week in the Stars. All right, so Our Week in the Stars. We're going to start with Friday, April 16th. Mercury is going to enter Aries. Hot damn. That's what I say. Hot damn. Mercury is the planet of communication and thought and learning, and it's going to move from Pisces into Aries. Now, Aries is bold energy. They're fast paced. It's like the make or break decisions, right? Mercury in Aries is, you may find yourself being more direct, more quick-witted, and maybe not overthinking things as much. You may notice your thoughts become a little bit sharper, your ability to be more assertive, and there's you want more action over reflection, right? You're ready, you're done with the planning and the dreaming, you're ready to do, right? You want it done now. Now, if you've been procrastinating, Mercury's in Aries is going to encourage you to kind of take risks and speak your mind and without hesitation. So what I would say, how to navigate that energy. Okay, so quick decisions, right? But you don't want to rush into things without considering the consequences. That's what I would say. It's a great time to speak up, but try to be mindful of your impulsiveness. Think before you speak so that there's no misunderstandings, right? It's a great time to start new projects, especially ones that really need you to be fast thinking and bold, right? But I think just be cautious, because if you do speak without thinking, you may find that there's misunderstandings, like I said, right? And those misunderstandings could potentially burn bridges, because you're going to be a little bit more blunt than normal, right? You need to balance out that boldness with a little bit of tact. So just taking a deep breath, maybe replaying things in your head before you say them, and just being brave enough to take the leaps, right? Because if you fight against that energy, it's going to be just as bad as surrendering too much. You got to find that balance, right? All right, so now we're going to move to Sunday, April 18th, and just so you know, if you're new here, my weeks go Monday through Sunday because I post on Mondays, so I include Sunday in this week. So Sunday, April 18th, Mars is going to enter Leo, and the Moon enters Capricorn. Fun. All right, let's break it down. Let's start with Mars in Leo. So Mars is the planet of action and drive. It's the war god, right? And it's going to move into Leo, and that's the sign of creativity and passion and self-expression, and some might say ego a little bit, right? Mars in Leo wants to take center stage, and they want to shine brightly, right? You may find more confidence and determination and boldness. So if there's something you've been waiting to try to achieve, it could be a good time to go for it, like full force. Whether that's a creative project or a romantic pursuit or a personal goal, whatever it is, Mars and Leo kind of is giving you the courage to pursue it with flair and enthusiasm, because Leos like to be the center stage. Basically, I would say channel that inner lion, right? Don't be afraid to take the lead, pursue your desires. Mars and Leo kind of encourages you to express your authentic self and pursue passions with confidence. But what I will say is that you need to be very mindful of the potential for arrogance and drama, right? So try as hard as you can to stay grounded and avoid getting too caught up in validation seeking. You want to show the world what you've got, but you don't want to do it from a place that isn't genuine, right? You don't want to go from your ego. You want to go for your genuine self, right? And I think what's interesting is I think the energies of the Moon in Capricorn could help this out a little bit, which seems strange but true. So the Moon is going to enter Capricorn, right? And as it enters, then the Moon shifts from emotional and intuitive to practical and grounded, right? Capricorn Moon is like it's going to bring focus. It's going to put a bullseye on like discipline and responsibility and structure. It's a time to really think about long-term goals and take actionable steps toward building your future. You may feel more serious or goal-oriented, and you might want to get things done and achieve and see some tangible results, right? That's a Capricorn nature for you. So the Moon in Capricorn is great for productivity and planning. It's a good time to get organized and set clear goals and take steps towards manifesting. But I would say don't get too caught up in the work or material pursuits, you have to not only nurture that aspect, but you also need to nurture your emotional needs as well, right? Maybe using this energy to kind of take steps towards your ambitions, but trying to keep track of the bigger picture, right? It's a great time to reflect on the balance between work and personal life and begin to try to set some pretty healthy boundaries for both. So in all, the energy from April 12th to 18th is a nice mix of emotional and intellectual influences. And so, you know, from everything from the romantic, passionate energy of Venus and Pisces to Mars and Leo, right, which is a little more feisty, a little more assertive. Every transit this week offers kind of an opportunity to balance your inner world a little bit better, in particular with your outer goals. So you need to use this time to look at emotionally authentically expressing yourself, you know, making decisions bold and quick, but that align with you, and really just take grounded steps towards your future. I think those are all good ways to do the energy from this week. And that's it. So here's the thing. We are going to talk about the planets. We're going to dive into the magical and spiritual property of the astrological planets. Now, I want to really be very careful with this, because when I talk about planets, hold on. When I talk about planets, and when astrology talks about planets, there's more than just the 8, right? Pluto is still a planet in astrology. But on top of that, the sun and the moon are also planets according to astrology. And so we also look at the wild cards like Lilith and Chiron, who are also looked at in astrology. So we're also going to talk about what planets rule which signs and how they express themselves. We're going to do all that, right? So let's talk about that, right? So why are we looking at the planets? Well, you know, I'm huge in astrology, and they're a huge part of this. And we're going to break these into a couple different categories so that it makes the video a little bit easier. This could run a little bit long, right? So you have to kind of look at the planets in your astrology as kind of like the cast of your movie, right? Every role has a vibe, has a particular brand of chaos, you know, that it can bring to the table. Hold on a second, guys. All right. But it's not only about the planets, it also, each belongs to a planetary family that governs a major realm of your life, right? So, and when you understand these clusters, you can stop seeing, you know, I don't know about you, but the first time I actually pulled my astrological chart, I went like this. Because it can get very confusing when you see it laid out in graphical form, right? So by understanding the clusters of groups, maybe it'll help you understand your birth chart a little bit more. So let's get started. All right. So we are going to start with the luminaries. These are the core of who you are, right? You have the sun and you have the moon. Those are our two luminaries. They define you, okay? The sun is your ego, your identity, your life force. It's what you consciously strive toward. So where your sun lands, that's the area of life where you're meant to shine. So I can't remember. I'd have to look. I think my sun is in my 6th house, and I'm a Capricorn, right? So that all plays a part, right? And then you have the moon, and your moon is your subconscious, your emotional body, your instincts. It's where your emotional memories are held, needs, intuition. And this, wherever it lies in the house, shows how you seek comfort, love, and connection. Hold on, I'm going to pull up so we can do some referencing. I think I have it on this one. Let me look at my images, because I always screenshot, because I like astrology, but I'm going to be real honest with you. I can't remember everything. All right. Yes, my sun is in my 6th house, and my sun sign is Capricorn, right? So what that means we can get into later. I did just do one on planetary houses, so maybe listening to this and listening to that could help out a lot. Together, these two represent the dynamic between who you are on the outside and who you are on the inside, right? If your sun and moon are in harmony, your life tends to feel aligned. If they're in tension, you might feel like you're living in two different realities, right? So just as an example, I have a Capricorn sun, but I have a Cancer moon. And those are complete opposites, right? So sometimes I joke that's why I'm bipolar. I know it's not true, but it makes me chuckle a little bit. All right, now we're gonna move to, and basically we're just running these down. We'll get a little more in depth into these once you guys can understand the groupings. So the next one is the classical planets. And this is basically your human toolkit, right? These are the OG planets, right? You can see them with your Mercury through Saturn. Each one rules over a very human part of our psyche, right? Group is basically your cosmic job description. So here's how it runs out. Mercury runs your mind, how you think, speak, process info. It's your inner narrator. It's your external messenger, right? Venus rules love, pleasure, self-worth, aesthetics. She's the glue in a relationship and the curator of your vibe, right? So if you've seen a lot of stuff on TikTok, they're talking about how like you should dress for your Venus sign, and that's because Venus is in charge of aesthetics, right? Mars is your drive, your willpower, your anger. He's how you fight, flirt, and push through, kind of, right? Jupiter is the cosmic teacher, expands whatever he touches, including optimism, opportunities, and sometimes, if you're not careful, your waistline, if I'm honest with you. All right, then you have Saturn is like the reality check, the builder, the karmic accountant, kind of teaches through limits and lessons and sometimes a very, very long explanation of something that could just simply be said with no. These planets are how you operate in the world. How you think, how you love, how you act, how you grow, how you mature, all those things, right? You can look there to find habits and strengths and struggles and potential. If the luminaries are kind of like your core, these guys are your toolkit, like I said, all right? So let's go to the next group, which are the outer planets. This is like your soul level stuff, okay? So Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are generational in scope, right? They move slowly and they affect everyone born in a given era. But where they fall in your chart shows how you personally embody the generational energy. So for instance, let's look. Uranus for me is in my, let me get to the right chart. There we go. Uranus is in my 4th house, right? And the 4th house is home, roots, family, self-care, right? So Uranus is a planet of, let me get my notes back up. Wrong one. Wrong notes. Sorry, guys. I'm recording multiple podcasts. So Uranus is about disruption and awakening and innovation. So it's in my house where my roots and my family stuff is at, right? So that makes sense for me. You don't know my family, but trust me, it makes sense. It's like Uranus kind of says, I always say this thing, and people get freaked out, but sometimes you have to blow something up or burn something down to rebuild it. And that's kind of what Uranus's opinion is as well. So you also have Neptune, and Neptune is like a boundary dissolver. It rules dreams and illusions and higher love, and it can be divine or delusional. It really just depends on the day, right? The big movement, and if you watched on TikTok and you're into astrology, the big movement recently was Pluto moved from Capricorn into Aquarius, right? Now, Pluto is the shadow doctor. It's transformation, it's death, it's rebirth, it's power. It's basically telling you to surrender so you can resurrect, right? So with the move from Capricorn, thank God it's out of Capricorn. Oh, thank God. Sorry, my Aquarius brothers and sisters, but I was done with it. I was done. I was ready for something new. So these all, because they're so far out, they take generations to go through, right? So I think Aquarius is Pluto's going to be in Aquarius for the next 18 was made 20 something years. So it's that rotation, right? They're in there for a while. They affect whole groups, you know. They also activate key placements, right? They can send massive transformation. They're not really here to mess up your life. They're here to kind of, like I said, burn something down so that you can align with your soul's blueprint. And that's it. Now we have the hypotheticals, and these are your hidden power players, right? So this is where Black Moon, Lilith, and Chiron come into play. And they're not planets in the traditional sense, but they really carry some very big spiritual weight, right? They live in a realm of what's kind of often suppressed or overlooked or misunderstood. And that's why, honestly, the placements of these two things really have a huge impact, right? So if we look at Lilith, Lilith is where you won't be tamed, right? She rules wild femininity, rage, taboo truths. Wherever she is, you may feel rejected or judged, but also deeply powerful once you can claim her, right? Chiron is your sacred wound, the pain that doesn't fully ever really heal, but it could become like your greatest medicine, right? Chiron's placement tells you where your healing work lies and where you may become a guide for others. So these two really don't play by normal societal rules, right? They like to stir the pot. They like to unearth some secrets. They want to point to your inner alchemy. If your chart is a map, they're the spots that's marked here, like kind of like here be dragons, you know? It's like, oh, they are dragons. There's no here and there may be dragons. It's here, there be dragons, right? Now, if you put it all together, right? This is like the ecosystem, right? The luminaries give you your essence, the classic planets give you the function in the day-to-day, the outer planets stretch to your soul, and then the others talk about healing and spiritual reclamation, right? So when you read your chart with all of them in conversation, you don't really just get you get a whole outlook of your blueprint, right? So let's look. We're going to talk about each of them individually a little bit further, right? Now we have an idea what they are, right? So the sun, we're going to start with the luminaries again. The sun's ruler is Leo, right? So here's the thing, guys. No matter what sign you are, the planets are also ruled by certain zodiac signs, right? So in this case, the sun's main ruler is Leo. And when you're reading your chart, you have to think about all of these things, right? So the sun's ruler is Leo, right? I am a Capricorn sun. So that's right, but the ruler is Leo. So the sun says your sun is your soul's mission, your essence, your look at me, I'm alive kind of thing, right? It really governs your identity and how you shine in the world. But put in the first house, and you've got someone who radiates charisma and knows who they are, right? So, or at least pretends pretty convincing. If it's in the 10th house, you've got someone who was probably born holding a business plan, right? So the sun is in my 6th house. So that is, let me look and see. Once again, guys, I'm old. I can't remember all this stuff. The 6th house is health, fitness, systems, analytical nature, pets, work habits, organization, sense of usefulness, service given. So yeah, that's where I'm supposed to shine, right? All right. So the moon is ruled by Cancer, right? Makes sense. Crab, water, right? And the moon is really like that secret sauce to your emotions, right? It governs your intuition, your emotional safety, and your inner child. So for instance, if it's in the 4th house, it's deeply tied to your roots, your home, your family, right? In the 7th, it's going to bring more emotional sensitivity into relationships. In other words, you're not just going to be looking for love, you're looking for like that soul level connection, right? And this is how those interplay with that. Now, when it comes to these next planets, we're going to talk about who rules them. And then we are also going to talk about the lunar nodes as well, because I think that plays into the planets and everything as well, even though they're not technically that. All right, so now let's look at the class of planets. So Mercury has 2 rulers. It has Gemini and it has Virgo, right? And Mercury is your like communicator. So it rules your thoughts, your voice, and how you process the world around you. You know, as an example, if Mercury lands in your 3rd house, where is Mercury in mine? Let me look and see. Mercury is in my 6th house. Everything's in my 6th house, just to be out of the way. Yes. So if it lands in the 3rd house, you're probably chatting up strangers at bus stops. You're just someone who likes to communicate a lot, right? If it's in your 6th house, that's me, right? You're all about systems and lists and efficiency and maybe with a touch of anxiety, right? So if you look at my phone, it's funny that it says, if you look at my phone, not only do I have Google Calendar, but I have my own calendar. I also have a notes app that has lists. And then also I'm a big proponent on setting up my phone. So if you look systems wise, all my stuff is into little like folders labeled on how it's used. So see, yeah. So this is definitely accurate. Venus ruling Taurus and Libra. So yes, Taurus and Libra both are rulers of Venus. And you know, kind of like you know, that divine feminine, but you gotta, you know, silk robes. Venus really loves beauty, pleasure, self-worth, you know. So where is my Venus? My Venus is in my 6th house. Everything is in my 6th house. So, but if Venus, say, was in your 2nd house, your inner money magnet, you're a money magnet. You have luck, you love luxury, you love quality, right? If it stands in your 5th house, you're maybe like a flirty, kind of artisty person, right? You want to like take your heartbreak and turn it into something beautiful. Let me get a drink real quick. All right, so Mars, we already talked, right? Planet, action and desire. Scorpio and Aries are, you know, it rules Aries and Scorpio, right? Basically, it's how you go after what you want, right? And it can be also how you argue, you know, Mars. Where's Mars? I swear to God. It's in my ascendant. It's in my ascendant. 1st house. So it's how you go after what you want, like I said. So if it's in your 1st house, that's me, right? It gives you drive and passion and maybe a little impatience, right? If it's in your 8th house, it's power dynamics, intimacy. We see how it says, like, so you have to pay attention who rules and what house, and then the houses have rulers. I'm telling you, astrology is a lot more in depth than just opening up and reading your weekly horoscope. Next up, we have Jupiter, and it's the big benevolent, right? It's about, it rules Sagittarius and Pisces. It talks about expansion and luck and belief systems and higher learning. So let's look and see. If it's in my 6th house, I won't say. Let's see. Jupiter is in my 12th house. So that's interesting. Yeah. So if it's in the 9th house, guys, it's like professor of life, craving knowledge, all that kind of stuff. If it's in your 12th house, that's me. There's spiritual protection, right? Guardian angel vibes. You know, so spiritual leader, spiritual coach, spiritual student for life, right? Which is accurate for me. Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. So I'm a Capricorn. I am ruled by lovely Saturn and traditionally Aquarius. So basically bossy elder of the zodiac kind of thing, right? Structure, boundaries, karma, discipline, right? My Saturn is in my 2nd house. All right. You know, in this, so let's take it if it was in the 6th house, right? This is like CEO energy, right? If it's in the 7th house, this is like relationship energy, right? You're here for commitment, learning deep lessons, all that kind of thing, right? So if we go into the planets of the outer planets, right? Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. So Uranus, you know, Uranus is in my 4th house, yes. All right, so Uranus is like rebellion, innovation, divine chaos kind of idea. So, for instance, if it's like in your 11th house, you're a very future forward thinker, right? You want social justice, you have strange friends, and kind of crazy, wild community visions, right? So, these are the kind of things you would be into. Neptune rules Pisces. And it's kind of like the dream weaver of the cosmos. It's mysticism, it's illusion, it's compassion, it's divine, dissolve. Neptune, let's look at where Neptune is in mine, is in my 5th house. All right, so if you put Neptune, let's say it's in your 6th house, you may be a healer, but someone who needs to really kind of learn how to put up energetic boundaries as well. Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio, and is basically the cosmic alchemist. It's, like I said, Pluto talks about transformation, power, the underworld, right? Pluto, for me, is in my 4th house. So if it's in the 1st house, you're going to see this is someone who, like, reinvents themselves over and over again, right? They're basically like a phoenix rising from the ashes, right? In the 4th house, which is me, it brings up a lot of ancestral karma and a soul mission to kind of heal the family line. So, generational trauma breaker. And that, once again, that seems about accurate. All right. So, let's talk about Lilith and Chiron. All right. So, or Chiron, however you want to say it. Black moon Lilith is not a planet. It's a point on the moon's orbit. But she's not... Lilith can't be ignored, right? She is about raw feminine power, rebellion, sexuality, untamed truth. In Leo, my Lilith is in... my Lilith is in my 12th house. That makes a lot of sense. And then Lilith is in Gemini. That makes sense too. And Leo, Lilith is someone who is very seductive, but with like confidence and boldness, maybe almost like a theatrical flair. In Pisces, you know, it's like spiritual thing, right? Enchanting, elusive, like almost like a siren-like energy. My Lilith is in my 12th house, but if it was in my 1st house, it makes you want to kind of embody the taboo, right? You walk in the room and people feel your energy before you even speak, right? In the 7th house, maybe it's like relationships kind of waking you up, right? Maybe you're boring every other day, but when you're in relationships, suddenly, woo, deep desire, right? Conflict makes you hot kind of thing. Yeah, I said it. Let's look at Chiron. Okay, so Chiron is, how do I explain Chiron? So it's part asteroid, part comet. Yeah, so this is your deep wounds, like I said. So let's look. I don't know if this one has, I don't know if this one has my Chiron on it. It doesn't have my Chiron. Let's look, Chiron. No, this one doesn't have my Chiron on it. I have to look that up. So let's say your Chiron is in Aries, right? And that's basically saying like it wants you to kind of heal the idea that you're not enough, right? So that's your wound. That's what you have to deal, right? If it's in Virgo, it's really talking about working to improve the need to be perfectionist, right? Maybe being a little more compassionate when it comes to flaws, right? If your Chiron's in the 4th house, that's going to be surrounding about family wounds. And in the 10th house, you're going to the career path is going to be the struggle, right? So these are all things that are super important to understand when looking at those. Now, real quick, we're going to talk about the lunar nodes. And the reason that I wanted to bring the lunar nodes into a planets thing is because I do think it's something that is vitally important, right? Basically, the lunar nodes are kind of like your cosmic GPS, right? The north and south node aren't planets. They're basically mathematical points where the moon's path intersects with the sun's, right? The ecliptic, I think is what it's called. And that sounds very technical. But basically, this is like your soul's past, future, and everything you need to reclaim, right? So it's like a karmic compass. The south node is your comfort zone. It's the talents, it's the habits, even the baggage you've kind of dragged from past lives. And the north node, that's kind of where you need to stretch. That's the new you. That's what you're moving towards. It's your soul signed up to become in this lifetime. It's basically what your soul, right? It's not always comfy though, guys, because it is where growth lives. So let's look at south node first, right? So wherever your south node lands in your chart, that's where you've been. It's what you know, maybe almost too well, okay? It's the life you could live in autopilot, right? But if you stay there too long, you start to feel stuck. You start to feel restless. You feel like even maybe like you're dead kind of inside. So my south node, I don't know if I have my south node either. I have my north node. We can talk about that. So let's say your south node is Libra in the 7th house, okay? That means you're great at relationships, diplomacy, making sure everybody's happy, but you might give away your power too much, maybe lose yourself in others. And this is like saying, like, the universe is like, don't do that again, right? So let's go to the north node. So the north node, on the other hand, is where you're headed, right? North node is where you're going. It's uncharted territory. It could be uncomfortable, but there's so much potential for growth, is what I would say. It's where your soul starts doing kind of like new things that it doesn't know it could do, right? So if we use the example, if your north node, my north node is in my 3rd house, and it's in Libra. Okay, so if your north node is in Aries in the 1st house, the call is to kind of stop people pleasing and really start prioritizing your own damn needs, right? You need to be bold, you need to be assertive, you need to self-direct, right? Your north node shows you what your soul wants. So for me, mine is Libra, right? And it's in my 3rd house. So let's look. My 3rd house is the mind, thinking, communication, siblings, social activity, interests, neighbors, early education, right? So if we think about it like that, my north node is in my 3rd house. So those are the areas of my life where it's challenging me to do these things. And it's in Libra. And Libra is very much about balance. So my moving towards is moving towards balance, right? Now, if we look at those two, right, there's kind of a secret sauce that most people understand. These two things always work in pairs, right? And it's always in the opposite sign and houses, right? It's not about abandoning your south node. It's really about evolving it. So a south node in Capricorn isn't a curse. It means you've got boss level ambition. But your north node in Cancer is reminding you that you need to work on your emotional health, right? So, for instance, mine is Libra. Let's look real quick. I can never remember the opposites because, well, like I said, I'm good, but I'm not that good. Let's look. What is Libra's opposite? Aries. Aha. So, my north node is Libra. My south node is in Aries. Okay? So, if we look at that, right? My south node is in Aries. It means that I am ambitious. I am bold. I am a go-doer. I am somebody who should be, very confident and all that. My north node is in Libra, and so the trick is for me to move towards balance. Maybe I need to balance that fiery, that like almost ego-driven action-oriented person with a more balanced and empathetic and sympathetic person, and someone who doesn't just jump and doesn't have to have things done their way, and maybe not as much a perfectionist. See, there's all these different things, right? So here's something else I want to talk about because I think it's important. So there's a node transit, right? When the nodes transit over your natal planets or angles, that's when fate kind of steps in, right? And these periods often feel kind of like plot twists, right? It's when careers decide to change. It's when big endings happen, big moves, relationships, right? So your nodal return usually happens between 18 to 19, 37 to 38, and 56 to 57. And these are all major turning points, okay? It's like a check-in point, right? And it's just your soul saying, hey, where are we at? Are we on track? Are we still, what are we doing? Are we still like stuck in karmic things? What's happening? And it's like telling us it's time to step out of it, right? In spiritual work, what I would say, and I know I'm spending a little bit more time on the nodes than I did on the planets, but I think the nodes don't get enough focus sometimes. So the nodes are like sacred guideposts, guys. They're really woven into this, like past life readings, karmic astrology, modern soul purpose coaching, right? And a lot of mystics, including myself, use the nodes to kind of help people we know reclaim like lost parts of themselves and really move towards more integration. The South Node offers insight into what needs to be released or balanced, right? And that reveals the qualities and practices and relationships that will move your soul forward. So when integrated, if you can do it, they really become this really powerful roadmap that helps you find your purpose and heal and break free of things, right? So I think the reason I did this episode was because I wanted to really talk about, like, so often when we meet somebody, they say, what's your sign? And we all know our sun sign, but I think there's more to it like that, right? You can use this for so much more, What is my soul's purpose? And what am I learning to do this time around, right? And that's what the nodes give us. That's what everything here gives us. So why does this matter? I think because when you understand the planets by their vibe instead of just their names, and really understand which signs rule and how they act in the houses, you can really realize how the birth chart isn't just a personality test, right? And also how everybody differs, right? Like, I'm a Capricorn, my other friend's a Capricorn. We're two different Capricorns. And that is because everything else plays a role, right? Everything else plays a role. I think, the stereotypes of the signs, get switched up a little bit when you start looking at, the planets that rule them. Capricorn's ruled by Saturn. What does Saturn do? But also, guess what? I'm a Capricorn, but my Saturn is in my whatever house. That changes things, right? So that means, like, maybe that Capricorn it's just all of this stuff plays a role, right? You really, when you do go deep into astrology, you really do see the inner workings, right? It's so much more than where my Mercury is, or it's more about how Mercury moves in my life, right? All it depends on where the houses are, what planets are in what houses, what planets are in what sign. All these play an integral part, and that's why, as much as old school people that read horoscopes would generalize and just talk about the sun sign, that's why more modern astrologers are talking about all of these things, because the truth is, all of us are different. Even if I'm a Capricorn, my friend's Capricorn, we have the same things in every house and everything, and every planet is in the same sign, and There's still the angles, right? Am I a first decan, a second decan, or a third decan? Those changes how I act. So even somebody who has the same exact printout as me may not be exactly the same, because everything is variation. And that's kind of, you know, what I wanted to talk about. That's why I did the one on the houses. That's why I'm doing the one on the planets. We're going to do more on astrology, because I really want everybody to understand what it looks like. And maybe I break it down into, you know, how to dress like your Venus, how to, you can do all of these things, right? Because every planet brings its own magic, you know, and each placement brings its own nuance, right? And when you learn to read everything all together, first of all, you're putting me at a job, but secondly, and that's fine, I don't want to gatekeep information. When you learn how to read that blueprint, and that's what I call the birth chart, it makes things start looking a whole lot more interesting and making a lot more sense. So that's it for this week, guys. I hope you enjoyed a look at the planets. There's so much more, and maybe we'll go more into that. Maybe we'll take a deep dive into each of the planets one by one. That could be fun. I may do the same thing with the houses too. Even though we went over them all, I think giving one dedicated episode to them might be kind of fun. Maybe, you know, if I can get enough income coming in from this, we'll do a third episode every week, and we'll concentrate on astrology. That could be fun. I'd be down for that. Anyways, that's it. And if that's something you're interested in, let me know. And you know you can do that because you can reach me through all my social media, plus the email. If you want to support the podcast, you can do that by like, comment, sharing, following, subscribing, doing all that good stuff. Or if you want to purchase some of my time, you can do that by going to my Buy Me a Coffee or my Patreon and purchasing a tarot read or an astrology read, as well as some other stuff that'll be there here soon. And if you want more on this and so much more, make sure you check out my Medium publication. And if you are into women history and feminism, check out my other podcast. It's called Where All the Ladies At. Until next time, guys. Actually, see you Thursday. Don't forget Thursday's episode. Until next time, guys. Stay safe, stay curious, stay blessed.